안녕하세요. 오늘은 창세기 5장 아담의 계보와 동행이라는 제목으로 시작합니다. 그러면 바로 1, 2절을 함께 써볼게요. 이거를 마킹하고 갈게요. 네, 이제 아담의 계보가 시작됩니다. 1절 This is the written account of the descendants of Adam. 이것은 기록된 계보이다. 아담의 후손들의 written account, 기록된 계보 또는 이야기. When God created human beings, 하나님이 인간을 창조하셨을 때 He made them to be like himself. 그는 그들을 자신과 같게 만드셨다. 2절 He created them male and female. 그들을 남자와 여자로 창조하셨고 and He blessed them. 그리고 그들을 축복하셨다. and called them human. 그리고 그들을 인간이라 부르셨다. When they were created, 그들이 창조되었을 때. 네, 여기서 다시 창조의 기본으로 돌아가는 느낌이죠. 인간이 하나님과 비슷하게 만들어졌다는 점을 다시 강조하고 있습니다. 그리고 남자와 여자를 함께 축복하셨다고 나옵니다. 즉, 인간 전체가 하나님의 그 계획 안에 있다는 걸 다시 보여주는 장면이에요. 3장에서 5절까지 써볼게요. 네, 이제 아담부터 계보가 본격적으로 시작됩니다. 3절 When Adam was 130 years old, 아담이 130세였을 때 He became the father of a son, 한 아들의 아버지가 되었고 Who was just like him in his very image. 그 아들은 그와 똑같은 모습이었다. He named his son Seth. 그는 그의 아들을 셋이라 이름 지었다. 4절 After the birth of Seth, 셋이 태어난 이후 Adam lived another 800 years. 아담은 800년을 더 살았고 And he had other sons and daughters. 다른 아들들과 딸들도 낳았다. 5절 Adam lived 930 years. 아담은 930년을 살았고, 그리고 and then he died. 그리고 결국 죽었다. 여기서 그 족보의 패턴이 이제 시작됩니다. 태어나고 살고 그리고 죽는 흐름이 반복되죠. 특히 마지막에 죽었다는 말이 계속 나옵니다. 이건 인간이 결국 죽음을 맞이하게 된다는 걸 보여주는 부분이에요. 그래서 창세기 5장은 생명이 이어지지만 동시에 죽음도 함께 반복된다는 그런 장입니다. 그럼 또 6절에서 8절까지 또 써볼게요. 네, 이제 셋의 계보가 이어집니다. 6절 When Seth was 105 years old, 셋이 105세였을 때 he became the father of Enosh. 에노스를 낳았다. 네, 7절 After the birth of Enosh, 에노스가 태어난 이후 Seth lived another 807 years. 셋은 807년을 더 살았고 and he had other sons and daughters. 그는 다른 자녀들도 낳았다. 8절 Seth lived 912 years. 셋은 912년을 살았고 and then he died. 그리고 그는 죽었다. 아담 이후에도 같은 흐름이 끊기지 않고 이어집니다. 그럼 이제 9절부터 11절까지 써볼게요. 또 다음 세대로 이어집니다. 9절 When Enosh was 90 years old, 에노스가 90세였을 때 he became the father of Canaan. 그는 게난의 아버지가 되었다. 10절 After the birth of Canaan, Enos lived another 815 years. 게난이 태어난 이후 에노스는 815년을 더 살았고 He had other sons and daughters. 그리고 그는 다른 아들들과 딸들을 낳았다. 11절 Enosh lived 905 years. 에노스는 905년을 살았고 and then he died. 그리고 그는 죽었다. 이 구간에서는 누가 이어받는지가 계속 강조됩니다. 그럼 이제 12절에서 14절 또 써볼게요. 네, 이제 계보가 계속 이어집니다. 12절. When Kenan was 70 years old, 게난이 70세였을 때 he became the father of 마할랄렐. 그는 마하랄렐의 아버지가 되었다. 13절 After the birth of 마하랄렐, 마하랄렐이 태어난 이후 Kenan lived another 840 years. 게난은 840년을 더 살았고 and he had other sons of daughters. 그리고 그는 다른 아들들과 딸들을 낳았다. 14절 Kenan lived 910 years. 게난은 910년을 살았고 and then he died. 그리고 그는 죽었다. 15절 When 마하랄렐 was 65 years old, 마하랄렐이 65세였을 때 he became the father of Jared. 그는 야렛의 아버지가 되었다. 네. 각 인물들의 삶이 끊기지 않고 이어지는 구조가 계속 유지가 됩니다. 그럼 이제 16절하고 17절 써볼게요, 같이. 네, 또 다음 세대로 이어집니다. 16절 After the birth of Jared, 야렛이 태어난 이후 마하랄렐 lived another 830 years. 마하랄렐은 830년을 더 살았고 and he had other sons and daughters. 그리고 그는 다른 아들들과 딸들을 낳았다. 17절 마할랄렐 lived 895 years. 마할랄렐은 895년을 살았고 and then he died. 그리고 그는 죽었다. 이 계보는 흐름이 끊기지 않고 계속 이어지는 데 초점이 있습니다. 이제 18절에서 20절 써볼게요. 야렛의 계보로 이어집니다. 18절 When Jared was 162 years old, 야렛이 162세였을 때 he became the father of Enosh. 그는 에녹의 아버지가 되었다. 19절 After the birth of Enosh, 에녹이 태어난 이후 Jared lived another 800 years. 야렛은 800년을 더 살았고 and he had other sons and daughters. 그리고 그는 다른 아들들과 딸들을 낳았다. 20절 Jared lived 962 years. 야렛은 962년을 살았고 and then he died. 그리고 그는 죽었다. 이 시점까지는 모든 인물이 동일한 구조로 기록됩니다. 또 이어서 21절부터 24절까지 쓸게요. 이제 계보에서 특별한 인물이 등장합니다. 21절 When Enosh was 65 years old, 에녹이 65세가 되었을 때 He became the father of Methuselah. 그는 무두셀라의 아버지가 되었다. 22절 After the birth of Methuselah, 무두셀라가 태어난 이후 Enosh walked with God for 300 years. 에녹은 하나님과 동행하며 300년을 살았고 and he had other sons and daughters. 그리고 그는 다른 아들들과 딸들을 낳았다. 23절 Enosh lived 365 years. 에녹은 365년을 살았고 24절 Then Enosh walked with God. 에녹은 하나님과 동행했고 and then he disappeared because God took him. 그리고 그는 사라졌는데 하나님이 그를 데려가셨기 때문이다. 여기서 처음으로 죽었다는 표현이 빠집니다. 하나님과 동행한 삶이 강조가 되고 있어요. 계보 속에서 매우 특별한 흐름입니다. 네, 그러면 이제 원어민 청취하고 따라하기 하겠습니다. 오늘은 조금 절이 짧아서 2절씩 할게요.
This is the written account of the descendants of Adam. When God created human beings, he made them to be like himself. He created them male and female, and he blessed them and called them human.
This is the written account of the descendants of Adam. When God created human beings, he made them to be like himself. He created them male and female, and he blessed them and called them human.
Adam was 130 years old. He became the father of a son who was just like him. In his very image, he named his son Seth. After the birth of Seth, Adam lived another 800 years, and he had other sons and daughters.
When Adam was 130 years old, he became the father of the son who was just like him in his very image. He named his son Seth. After the birth of Seth, Adam lived another 800 years and he had other sons and daughters.
Adam lived 930 years, and then he died. When Seth was 105 years old, he became the father of Enosh.
Adam lived 930 years and then he died. When Seth was 105 years old, he became the father of Enosh.
After the birth of Enosh, Seth lived another 807 years, and he had other sons and daughters. Seth lived 912 years, and then he died.
After the birth of Enosh, Seth lived another 807 years and he had other sons and daughters. Seth lived 912 years and then he died.
When Enosh was 90 years old, he became the father of Kenan. After the birth of Kenan, Enosh lived another 815 years, and he had other sons and daughters.
When Enosh was 90 years old, he became the father of Kenan. After the birth of Kenan, Enosh lived another 815 years, and he had other sons and daughters.
Enosh lived 905 years, and then he died. When Kenan was 70 years old, he became the father of Mahalalel.
Enosh lived 905 years and then he died. When Kenan was 70 years old, he became the father of Mahalalel.
After the birth of Mahalalel, Kenan lived another 840 years, and he had other sons and daughters. Kenan lived 910 years, and then he died.
After the birth of Mahalalel, Kenan lived another 840 years, and he had other sons and daughters. Kenan lived 910 years, and then he died.
When Mahalalel was 65 years old, he became the father of Jared. After the birth of Jared, Mahalalel lived another 830 years, and he had other sons and daughters.
When Mahalalel was 65 years old, he became the father of Jared. After the birth of Jared, Mahalalel lived another 830 years, and he had other sons and daughters.
Mahalalel lived 895 years, and then he died. When Jared was 162 years old, he became the father of Enoch.
Mahalalel lived 895 years, and then he died. When Jared was 162 years old, he became the father of Enosh.
After the birth of Enoch, Jared lived another 800 years, and he had other sons and daughters. Jared lived 962 years, and then he died.
After the birth of Enosh, Jared lived another 800 years, and he had other sons and daughters. Jared lived 962 years, and then he died.
When Enoch was 65 years old, he became the father of Methuselah. After the birth of Methuselah, Enoch lived in close fellowship with God for another 300 years, and he had other sons and daughters.
When Enosh was 65 years old, he became the father of Methuselah. After the birth of Methuselah, Enosh lived in close fellowship with God for another 300 years, and he had other sons and daughters.
Enoch lived 365 years, walking in close fellowship with God. One day, he disappeared because God took him.
Enosh lived 365 years, walking in close fellowship with God. Then one day he disappeared because God took him. 네, 오늘은 여기까지 공부하겠습니다. 다음 영상에서 계속 이어서 할게요.